And 8:45 on your Saturday morning. Time for Dollars and Cents with the finance guru, Dan Geltrude. Dan is a national media superstar. You'll see him all over the national scene, and he joins us every Saturday morning at 8:45 a.m. And Guru, the state of New Jersey is a complete and utter disaster and a mess. The new governor has made a lot of promises that haven't come true. And his first 100 days, to me, a complete dismal failure. But anyway, I saw this past week, Guru, you were part of an expert panel that you were discussing the insane tax situation that we have here in New Jersey. It's causing so many people to move out of our state. Was there any real progress made that you saw in this situation?
King, this was a great event that was sponsored by Garden State Initiative, and Regina Agia, who's the former chief of staff to Governor Christie, is the president of this organization, and it was held in New Brunswick, and the moderator was Deborah Kostrin of Zito Partners, and the purpose was to have an open discussion, in fact, a think tank about what could be done about New Jersey's ridiculous tax situation. Now, I don't think that we really solved the problem, but it was an open dialogue that hopefully will lead to progress down the line. So let me give you some of my insight on this situation, King. I don't think, first of all, that it's too late to save New Jersey. But if we don't have some bold action soon, I think that we are going to be going off the financial cliff in the not-too-distant future. And the first point that I want to make here is, as you know, I'm a CPA. And in our firm, I can tell you that we have countless conversations with our clients related to tax planning, specifically on how to leave New Jersey from a tax standpoint, because it is just so punitive that you can find a better deal, shall we say, in almost any other state that you pick. Now, it's hard to leave your home state, but people are doing it, as you mentioned, in droves, and that's the harsh reality. So it comes down to, how do you stop this from happening? Because, listen, the more people that leave the state, King, you are eroding that tax-paying base, because the state has so many fixed costs that it has to meet that you have to have people here. You want to have a growing population, in fact, that could meet that demand of those payments. And what we see in New Jersey is a migration to other states. And I just think that if we don't start to take some action really soon, we're going to have a very, very serious problem. So I'm going to say this over and over and over again because it's part of my mantra. But if we don't start to take steps, first and foremost, to term limits, nothing is going to get better. I say it over and over and over again. You just don't have the political will to do the things that have to be done if you have politicians that are more concerned about, shall we say, re-electionism than anything else. And it's just a natural part of the process. I'm not trying to personally attack any politician, but that's what it's about. They can't really make good decisions when there's a personal benefit. Now, of course, politicians will deny this up and down, but we all know the case. If you really want to do good for a while and move on. So let's go down to what the core financial problem is. And much of that relates to our pension obligations. Listen, we're behind in our pension payments, as everybody knows, and that liability, that unfunded liability, is getting bigger and bigger and bigger, King. So what can we do? So again, this goes back to political will because it's hard. So we have to really move towards the New Jersey pension system being a 401k setup. Just like everyone else in the private world has a 401k. That's what we need in government. Okay, so how do you implement it? Well, going forward, everybody that comes into the system, there's no longer that defined benefit plan, which is what we have. We are going to be on the 401k. And I'm going to go a step further. And again, this will get a lot of people upset, but it's what's necessary. Going forward, everybody who's already in the system, you cut it off, you get credit for everything you've accumulated to this point, but then going forward, it all goes into a 401k savings type plan. This would be enormous savings that we would benefit from in the state of New Jersey. Now, what will that ultimately do, King? That will allow us to get a little bit more competitive with our tax structure, meaning we could actually start to take down these tax rates. Now, you cannot be competitive for jobs and attracting corporations if you have a punitive tax system, which is what we have in New Jersey. So if you want to attract employers, which is what it's all about economically, you got to be able to offer the tax incentives. You have to have lower tax rates. That means tax cuts. Do we have the political will to do that? Do you know how much bad press there'll be by having corporate tax cuts in New Jersey? But I say, what's the alternative, King? Is to just keep going down the road that we are, which is unquestionably a road to disaster. I'm going to add one more thing because I could talk about this for hours and hours, but this issue of minimum wage increasing to $15 an hour, I'm going to call it as it is, King. That is a tax increase. All right? I understand that people are going to be making more money, but you're going to have inflation in the state related to that. Costs have to go up if you're going to start to pay labor more money. So the people who are getting those increases in salary are only going to lose that to inflationary costs in the goods and services that they need to buy. But here's really another aspect of this that we have to think about. Large employers in the state of New Jersey, King, are going to be looking towards intellectual property and artificial intelligence and using technology to replace people. That's going to get accelerated because there's a motivation to say, if we have to pay all these dollars out in labor costs, we better figure out how to get robots to replace people. Now it becomes worthwhile to make those investments. Because remember, it's not just $15 an hour. It's what happens to the person that's already making $15 an hour. Well, if they're making $8 an hour now and they're going to $15 and the jump in the minimum wage and you're doubling it, well, now somebody who's making $15 an hour, are they going to $25 or $30 an hour? And that wage compression is going to be disastrous, particularly for small employers. You're going to be putting people out of business, and I think you're going to be putting more people out of work. So, look, King, I can go on and on forever about this. And do I think the future is bleak? Yes, unless we're going to act. And I really, really hope that we're going to get some politicians who are willing to make the tough decisions that may, in fact, cost them their seat, but it's the right thing to bring back New Jersey economically and make us competitive with other states.
I mean, at Guru, do at some point we blame the voters of New Jersey? This governor, his campaign was on tax increases, and at 1 minute after 8, he was declared the winner of the election.
King, you couldn't be more right. We have no one to blame but ourselves, and that's exactly the point. Look, we're in a democracy. People get the government they deserve. If we're going to be electing people that are going to increase our taxes, we shouldn't be surprised when our taxes go up. But then there's no question about the fact there were people who elected Governor Murphy as well as a large majority of which the Democrats now have in the legislature that they're going to be ultimately in lockstep in increasing taxes, and then people are moving out. So you voted for yourself to have to move out of the state. I don't think voters are stupid by any means. However, I don't know if they're paying enough attention. And maybe with the tax increases that are clearly on the way, $1.5 billion worth. And by the way, that's not to solve problems. That's for more spending and more programs. So net, we're not doing any better. We're just going to collect more and spend more. So, yeah, the voters need to wake up. I hope this is going to be a wake-up call, and we're going to be voting a lot of people out of office in the next go-round, specifically people or politicians that are going to be supporting more tax increases and more spending in our state. It's absolutely outrageous.